Imagine an engineering failure on a deep sea oil rig.
Oh man, just the worst case scenario.
Right. One that costs the company like $60 billion. It devastates an entire coastal ecosystem and, dominates the global news for months.
Yeah, absolute nightmare PR and operational disaster.
Exactly. Or picture a seemingly minor software update at a major telecommunications firm,
hmm
and it accidentally exposes the private data of, I don't know, 50 million citizens, resulting in crippling international sanctions.
Which happens way more often than people think, by the way.
It really does. But here's the thing. When you think about the person whose primary job it is to prevent those massive company-ending catastrophes,
You're probably picturing like a chief engineer.
right, a chief engineer or maybe a lead cybersecurity architect, you probably don't picture a compliance officer.
Definitely not.
No, because usually corporate compliance brings to mind a giant dusty binder sitting on a shelf in some windowless office.
Yeah, or that mandatory HR training video that you just click through as fast as humanly possible, just to get back to your actual job.
Yes, exactly. It is traditionally viewed as this administrative bottleneck.
Oh, completely. The department that exists solely to say no, to block initiatives, wrapped up in a lot of dense legal jargon and paperwork.
Right. Well, today we're looking at a piece of source material that actively tries to dismantle that exact stereotype. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be here for this one.
We're examining a comprehensive course briefing for the ICA Advanced Certificate in Business Compliance. And our mission for this deep dive is to figure out exactly what this 6-month program is offering to you, the listener.
Yeah, to see who it's actually for.
Exactly. Who it is truly designed for, and whether it's the right toolkit for a professional who wants to transform risk management from a bureaucratic roadblock into a genuine career advantage.
And I have to say, this briefing document is just a fascinating read.
It really is.
Because it completely challenges the fundamental assumption that compliance is just a static rulebook.
Right.
It frames it instead as a really dynamic, highly strategic skill set.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because the very first thing that jumped out at me from the briefing is their core promise. They state right up front that the goal is to gain, quote, actionable, practical knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge that actually boosts your professional profile.
Exactly. They make it so clear from page 1. I mean, this isn't about memorizing government regulation.
Oh, no, not at all.
It's about learning how to apply analytical frameworks to assess risk in real time.
Yeah.
It's an active pursuit, not a passive one.
And that distinction, that is the foundation of the entire program because, memorizing rules,
Yeah.
that's a task you can automate with software nowadays.
Right, totally. ChatGPT can do that.
Exactly. But analyzing risk within the messy, unpredictable, and highly political reality of a global corporation,
It's a whole different ballgame.
it requires nuanced human judgment. And the curriculum outlined here is specifically engineered to train that judgment.
And that reliance on human judgment actually explains a very surprising pivot in the source material.
Oh, the target demographic.
Yes. Before we get into the mechanics of how the course works, we need to talk about who it's actually targeting.
Yeah.
Because when we typically discuss high-level advanced compliance certifications,
The conversation almost always revolves around Wall Street.
exactly.
Yeah.
We picture investment bankers, hedge fund managers,
Yeah.
financial traders constantly navigating SEC rules.
Right, the classic finance bros.
Yeah. But this program, however, makes a very deliberate carve-out for a completely different demographic.
It steps completely outside that traditional financial bubble.
It does. The course is designated as an intermediate or level 4 qualification.
And just for context, for anyone unfamiliar with that specific UK-based educational scaling,
Yeah, please explain that.
a level 4 is roughly equivalent to like the first year of a university degree or an advanced professional apprenticeship.
Okay, got it.
It basically bridges the gap between basic operational tasks and higher-level executive strategy.
Right. And it's awarded in association with Alliance Manchester Business School, which is part of the University of Manchester.
So it brings some serious academic rigor to the table.
It really does. But crucially, it explicitly states that it is designed for professionals working in regulated firms outside of financial services,
Yeah, they specifically list heavy-hitting industries.
like oil and gas, aerospace, and telecoms.
Grouping those specific industries under a unified compliance certificate, I mean, that represents a massive shift in how the broader corporate world is categorizing this profession.
I completely agree. My immediate hypothesis when reading that was about the physical nature of the risk.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Because a compliance officer at a bank, right, they're policing abstract money movements and trades.
Spreadsheets and algorithms.
Exactly. But compliance in an aerospace company or an oil rig deals with highly physical, highly technical realities.
Literally life or death situations.
Yeah. It's the difference between a financial audit
Mhm.
and building the operational safety mechanisms for a commercial airplane.
Right.
I have to imagine that requires a completely different professional mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, why can't a bank compliance officer just take their existing knowledge and apply it to a telecom giant?
Well,
What makes these non-financial sectors so fundamentally different that they need their own dedicated university-backed certificate?
what's fascinating here is how the global regulatory landscape has evolved over the last decade.
Okay.
Historically, financial institutions absorbed the vast majority of regulatory scrutiny.
Because of the fallout from the global banking crisis.
Exactly. The 2008 crash, all of that. But today, severe risk has decentralized across all sectors.
Hmm.
If you look at an oil and gas conglomerate, for instance, their compliance matrix involves complex environmental regulations,
Right, the EPA and global equivalents.
heavily scrutinized geopolitical supply chains,
Mhm.
and like you said, safety protocols that, if violated, result in literal physical catastrophes.
Yeah, oil spills.
Right. And then if you look at a telecommunications firm, they are managing the real-time data privacy and communication infrastructure of entire nations.
Wow. So the stakes are identical in their severity, but the flavor of the disaster is entirely different.
Precisely. By partnering with a prestigious institution like the University of Manchester, the International Compliance Association, or the ICA, is sending a definitive signal to the market.
What's the signal?
They are validating that compliance in the broader corporate sector is now just as complex and just as critical to global stability as it is in the banking sector.
That makes total sense.
But the source material hints at another layer that directly addresses your point about the required mindset shift.
Oh, right. The briefing mentions that the course aims to develop not just technical specialist knowledge, but also vital critical thinking and interpersonal behaviors.
Yeah.
And honestly, that word interpersonal, it feels a bit out of place for a syllabus focused on corporate regulations.
It might seem out of place, sure, until you consider the internal politics of these specific industries.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, in non-financial sectors, compliance isn't always baked into the organizational DNA the way it is at a global bank.
Right. Bankers expect compliance.
Exactly. But if you work at a fast-moving tech company or an aerospace manufacturer, a massive portion of your job as a compliance professional is, honestly, behavioral science.
Behavioral science. How so?
You are tasked with persuading other departments, ambitious engineering teams, aggressive sales divisions, creative marketing departments.
Right.
You have to persuade them to actually care about these invisible regulatory boundaries.
Ah, I see. So you have to convince a sales team that, like, pausing a lucrative product launch today is actually worth it to save the company from a hypothetical privacy lawsuit 3 years from now.
Exactly. And that requires immense emotional intelligence.
I'll bet.
Negotiation capabilities, internal diplomacy. You are translating dense legal frameworks into operational reality for people who are incentivized simply to build things and sell things as quickly as possible.
That is a tough job. So, knowing that this program is attempting to equip non-financial sectors with these internal diplomats, let's look at the actual blueprint they use to train them.
The syllabus.
Yeah, the syllabus. And I want to avoid just reading down the table of contents here, because the syllabus actually tells a narrative.
It really does.
It's a narrative of moving from defensive posturing to offensive strategy.
The structure of the curriculum is very intentional in how it facilitates that transformation.
It starts with foundational elements, right?
Yes.
Understanding the origins of compliance and building an effective control framework.
Yep, the baseline.
Then it moves into the operational weeds with risk management, managing financial crime risk, and building alert systems and investigations.
Crucial stuff.
Let's pause on that, actually.
Yeah.
How does an alert system in a telecom company actually function compared to, say, the automated trade flagging you might see at a hedge fund?
That's a great question. In a non-financial firm, an alert system is often much more behavioral and operational.
Yeah.
Instead of an algorithm purely flagging a large monetary transaction, an alert system at a telecom company might involve monitoring third-party vendors for data handling anomalies,
Oh, interesting.
or tracking how customer service representatives are verifying identities across different global regions.
Wow.
It requires the compliance officer to map out the entire human and digital workflow of the company to find where the vulnerabilities actually live.
Man, that is complex. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Because after covering all those robust defensive mechanisms, the final topic listed on the syllabus is creating competitive advantage.
Yeah, it is the most critical conceptual leap in the entire document.
Honestly, I have to challenge this premise entirely.
Okay, let's hear it.
We established at the beginning of this deep dive that business leaders usually view corporate compliance as a cost center. It's the friction that delays innovation. So claiming that following the rules or building an internal alert system somehow translates into beating your competitors. It sounds like a heavy dose of marketing spin designed to make a dry subject sound exciting.
I get why you'd think that.
I mean, I hear competitive advantage, and I think of a better product, a cheaper supply chain, or a brilliant marketing campaign. I don't think of compliance.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of how global business actually operates today, it moves away from marketing spin and becomes a tangible operational reality.
Yeah, convince me.
The key is understanding the direct link between building an effective control framework and market agility. Let's use a mechanical analogy to illustrate this.
I love a good analogy.
Why do high-performance racing vehicles feature such incredibly massive, expensive braking systems?
Well, so the driver can stop before they hit a wall at 200 miles an hour.
Right. Stopping is the baseline function.
Yeah.
But the ultimate strategic purpose of outfitting a car with world-class brakes is to give the driver the psychological and mechanical confidence to drive much, much faster on the straightaways.
Oh, okay, I see. Having superior brakes allows you to push the vehicle to its absolute limit without the constant fear of losing control.
Exactly. In the corporate landscape, a messy reactive compliance framework is the equivalent of driving a sports car with failing brakes.
Terrifying.
Right. The entire company is forced to move slowly and cautiously. Every new international market they attempt to enter, every new joint venture they consider, is fraught with executive anxiety.
Because they don't have a clear map of their regulatory blind spot.
Yes. And when a crisis inevitably hits, perhaps a sudden supply chain sanction or an unexpected data breach, the entire organization panics.
Right, and forward momentum grinds to a halt while they scramble to assess the damage.
Exactly.
Okay, I see the logic of the sports car analogy. But in reality, business leaders still look at compliance officers as the people trying to ground the sports car entirely.
Yep.
So how does this specific syllabus train someone to overcome that ingrained corporate hostility and actually prove they are the brakes letting the car go faster?
By teaching them to build frameworks that secure B2B trust.
B2B trust.
Business-to-business trust, yeah. If you have an excellent, transparent risk management system in place, your company becomes the safest bet in a volatile market.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
You can secure more lucrative partnerships because other major corporations trust your internal controls. You can navigate sudden geopolitical crises smoothly because your alert systems give you the data you need to pivot instantly.
So you become the reliable, agile player while your competitors are bogged down by internal audits and government fines.
Exactly. That agility is your competitive advantage.
Wow. So the compliance officer stops being the person telling the CEO, we can't execute this strategy.
Yes.
They become the person presenting the exact operational framework required to safely execute an aggressive new initiative.
They transition from a roadblock to a strategic enabler. And that is the exact mindset a Level 4 intermediate qualification is aiming to produce.
That is a really powerful shift. Achieving that strategic transition sounds incredible on paper. But we need to look at the logistical reality.
The nuts and bolts of it.
Right. If you are a busy professional listening to this, balancing a full-time job and a personal life, you need to know what it actually takes to earn this designation.
Absolutely.
The briefing mentions this is a 100 CPD hour designation. Let's define that first for anyone who might not know.
Good idea.
CPD stands for Continuing Professional Development, which is the standard metric used globally to track ongoing education and training in regulated fields. Earning 100 hours is a significant undertaking.
It is, but the logistics outlined in the briefing are engineered specifically around the constraints of a working professional.
Okay, let's look at that. The course spans 6 months.
Yeah.
They recommend setting aside 2 to 4 hours of self-study per week, noting that you'll need to increase that time commitment around the assessment periods.
Which is pretty standard.
Yeah. They have upcoming intake dates scheduled for April 7, 2026 and June 29, 2026.
And honestly, dedicating 2 to 4 hours a week is a highly manageable cadence. It ensures the student does not have to pause their current career trajectory to advance their foundational knowledge.
I agree. That's very doable. And the delivery format is a hybrid model. It blends guided online study with attendance at live virtual classrooms.
The live element is key.
It is. The source highlights that these virtual classrooms are led by expert practitioners to bring the theoretical content to life. They specifically list the tutors.
Oh, yeah. Who do they have?
They have Rosalind Dixon-Burnett, who is a global lead of GRC,
What?
Alan Vincent, an associate course director, and Jonathan Bowler, who leads post-grad diplomas.
Some serious heavy hitters.
Yeah, let's break down that first title. GRC stands for Governance, Risk, and Compliance. Why does it matter to the listener that the person teaching the class holds a title like Global Lead of GRC?
Well, the mechanism at play here is peer-to-peer training. You are not learning from career academics who study compliance in a vacuum. You are learning from active practitioners who are likely fighting these exact corporate fires yesterday.
Right, they're in the trenches.
A global lead of GRC understands the very real internal politics we discussed earlier. They know how to navigate a hostile board of directors or a stubborn engineering team.
And they pass those practical survival skills down to the students.
Yeah.
Which brings us to how the students are tested on those survival skills. The assessments are split into two distinct parts.
Okay, how does it work?
First, there's one research-based assignment, and second, there is one timed online scenario-based assessment.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, this structure heavily reinforces the high-performance vehicle metaphor we've been using. It looks exactly like a comprehensive driving test.
It really does.
You have the written theory portion, the research assignment where you prove you comprehend the rules of the road.
Yeah.
Then you have the behind-the-wheel navigation, that timed scenario-based assessment where they throw a simulated real-world crisis at you to see if you crash the car.
The inclusion of a timed scenario-based assessment is vital to validating the course's core promise.
Really? Why is the timed part so important?
Because in the real world, a compliance crisis never happens in a vacuum. And it never happens when you have all the facts.
That's very true.
It happens under immense time pressure, usually with incomplete or conflicting information.
Right, like a sudden media leak or a midnight server crash.
Exactly. Testing a candidate's reaction within a timed simulation is the only reliable way to ensure they have internalized that actionable, practical knowledge rather than just memorizing a textbook.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's look at the financial investment required to take this driving test, though.
The cost.
Yeah, because there is a specific detail here that warrants some heavy scrutiny.
Uh-oh. Let's hear it.
The baseline course fee is listed at $2,795 US.
Okay.
They note there is a 15% discount available for residents of low GDP countries, and they do offer installment payment plans.
That's good. They offer flexibility.
It is. However, to even enroll in the course, you must also purchase a mandatory ICA membership, which adds an additional $241 to the total cost.
While mandating membership to a professional body is a relatively standard practice for international awarding organizations.
Let me stop you right there, because I have to push back hard on behalf of the listener's wallet here.
Fair enough.
A lot of professional organizations claim to offer a community or an exclusive network to justify a mandatory annual fee. But the reality, it ends up just being a spammy weekly email newsletter and a dead online forum.
I know exactly the kind of forums you're talking about.
Right. So is this $241 fee just an administrative hoop to jump through to inflate revenue? Or does the source material actually prove this membership provides tangible value to a working professional?
This raises an important question about the difference between purchasing a static educational product and integrating into a living profession.
Okay, go on.
If you analyze what the membership practically unlocks, it justifies the cost by solving a major problem in the compliance field: obsolescence.
How does it solve obsolescence?
By paying that membership fee, you are granted access to an international network of over 30,000 active members.
Okay, that's a big network.
Massive. Alongside the personalized ICA Learning Hub and weekly expert-led webinars covering the absolute latest industry developments. Because corporate regulations are not static, right? They shift constantly based on geopolitical events, new technologies, and governmental changes.
Yeah, AI regulations alone are changing every month.
Exactly. The regulatory frameworks you master in 2026 could be completely rewritten by lawmakers in 2028.
So the education doesn't end when the 6-month course is over.
The membership ensures you remain plugged into a continuous feedback loop of peer intelligence and ongoing education. It transforms a 6-month transaction into a long-term professional utility.
Wow, okay.
When you encounter a novel regulatory issue at your job 3 years from now, you have a global ecosystem of 30,000 practitioners you can actively consult to see how they are handling the exact same problem.
I actually see the value in that. If you are trying to maintain that competitive advantage for your company, relying on outdated knowledge is the fastest way to lose it.
Exactly.
The fee basically buys you a continuous stream of updated software for your internal alert systems.
That's a great way to look at it.
So what does this all mean?
Let's bring it home.
If you are listening to this right now and you are either casually exploring ways to pivot and upgrade your career, or you are a leader actively looking for the tools to strengthen the culture of risk management within your own non-financial firm, what is the ultimate takeaway from this briefing document?
I think the major takeaway is that the definition of a compliance professional has fundamentally evolved.
Yeah, it really has.
It is no longer just a back-office administrative function reserved for Wall Street banks.
If you operate in oil and gas, aerospace manufacturing, telecommunications, or literally any heavily regulated physical industry, the market demand for sophisticated, strategically minded compliance professionals is accelerating rapidly.
And this program offers a highly practical, university-backed path to fill that specific demand.
It requires a manageable commitment of 2 to 4 hours a week over 6 months, but it demands a profound shift in how you analyze business operations.
It asks you to stop viewing risk management as a dusty binder of restrictions
And start viewing it as the ultimate set of high-performance brakes that allows your company to safely outpace the competition.
Perfectly said.
Which leaves us with a fascinating final thought for you to mull over. If robust compliance is truly shifting from a defensive legal necessity into an active operational competitive advantage, as this syllabus heavily suggests,
Yeah.
could we soon see a business landscape where massive corporations actively market the strength of their internal compliance frameworks directly to everyday consumers?
Oh, wow. That's a wild thought.
Imagine a major aerospace manufacturer or a global telecom giant making their incredible, industry-leading operational seatbelts their primary marketing pitch.
I could definitely see that happening.
Because if good brakes give the driver the confidence to go faster, they might also be the exact feature that makes the consumer trust you enough to get in your car in the first place. Think about
Right.
that. Until next time, keep digging deeper.